So I'm not gonna lie, I had just spent 9 minutes making an entire video about Cody Glass getting traded over to Pittsburgh without knowing the trade details because we had learned that he got traded about an hour ago and it took so long, but now we finally know the details. What I'm gonna do is just talk about the return and the draft picks and then dive into the entire Cody Glass element of the trade because that's like the biggest thing that everybody cares about here. The Pittsburgh Penguins have received Cody Glass, a third and a sixth in exchange for forward Jordan Fraska. Fraska, heading over to the Nashville Predators, is a depth piece, but he is a young piece, 23 years old, 6'2", 183, left-handed center, a guy who played in the ECHL this most previous year. I'm not going to go out there and say that Fraska, who was a very good OHL player, is going to provide the most amazing value for the Predators, but he is a guy, a body, a contract in this trade to get it done, because he is signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. He just spent some time in the third-tier hockey league. So, for the Predators, they're going out there, getting rid of Glass because they needed to get rid of that salary, and they attach on a third and a sixth because of it. The return is pretty slim, but this was a trade they needed to get done. Let's get into my pre-recorded video about the Cody Glass trade over to Pittsburgh. And the dominoes keep on falling. The Pittsburgh Penguins made themselves a trade earlier today to send over the necessary draft picks that the St. Louis Blues needed to offer sheet Philip Broberg. Now, they've made themselves another trade, and the details have not been revealed. I've actually been sitting on this tweet for about an hour now-ish. It's been almost an hour since Friedman gave us this bomb. But we're not seeing the return, and after thinking about it a little bit, I was like, when it comes to this player, I honestly don't think he would fetch too big of a return anyway, and if he is going to be seen as the main piece in this kind of a deal, this is a pretty minor trade, just in general. But it still is a trade that I think we do need to talk about because hearing that Cody Glass is being traded from Nashville to Pittsburgh, this is yet another step in the direction of Cody Glass and his very unfortunate NHL career so far. As the first reply from NHL Rank King goes out there and says, Cody Glass was one of the top prospects in the NHL at one point in time. This is his PNHLE score throughout the years. Glass was drafted in 2016-17, so 6th overall guy you could see in that season. His PNHLE score was at 82. Absolutely incredible production out of a guy who, at the age of 17-18, was seen as one of the best prospects in hockey. But as his career went on, and by the time 2019 rolled around, his PNHLE dipped below that of a guy with second-line NHL potential. It kind of raised itself up over the years, but in 2023-2024, this has been a pretty bad season for Cody Glass in terms of progression, as he has dipped below second-line potential one more time. Glass, if you take a look at his overall profile, in 2017 he was drafted in the 6th overall spot. He was the very first ever Vegas Golden Knights draftee, and for good reason too. I mean, he had 94 points in 69 games played. He was actually the guy I wanted the Vancouver Canucks to draft instead of Elias Pettersson, and while that decision is definitely ridiculous when you think about it now, it was actually made even more sweet for Vancouver Canucks fans a year after the draft. Glass had 94 points in 69 games in his draft-eligible year. He had 102 points in 64 games the year after, so his draft plus one. But for Vancouver Canucks fans taking a look at Glass, it was already kind of rewarding because in that 2017-18 WHL season, the Canucks had their own guy drafted in the second round that was also producing some pretty great numbers. That was Cole Lind, and the entire Cody Glass versus Cole Lind argument that was going down in 2018, it was a pretty big deal. Yeah, this is like a 6-year later blast to the past throwback because now Glass and Lind both haven't really lived up to their potentials at the NHL yet. As for Cody Glass, though, he did spend some extra time developing in the Vegas Golden Knights system. He bounced around up and down in the AHL, NHL, eventually playing for the Henderson Silver Knights before getting traded to Nashville in what was a 3-team trade involving Vegas, Nashville, and the Philadelphia Flyers. This was a trade which saw Nolan Patrick get swapped around, and Ryan Ellis got sent over too. It was a big deal, all things considered, and the fact that it happened like 3 years ago now kind of boggles my mind. But Cody Glass in the Nashville system was a pretty solid AHL guy, point-per-game player, not surprising there. He had 35 points in 72 NHL games in 2022-2023, but that all declined in this previous season's worth of play because he had 41 games and only 13 points. He didn't even suit up a single game for the Predators in their first-round series against the Vancouver Canucks. So, for Cody Glass, this is definitely a guy who, at 25 years old, the clock's ticking. Like, he's got a much limited sample now to fully establish himself as an NHL caliber guy. And as the chart goes out there and says, I mean, he did have that big dip in 2019-20 in regards to his overall development. You could say that part of that was because the Vegas Golden Knights didn't really give him the best opportunity in 2019-20, but at the same time, I mean, the decline is pretty steep here from a guy who was seen as one of the top, let's say, top 5 prospects in the NHL world, now getting sent over to Pittsburgh for what we could probably guess is not going to be much. I mean, if this trade return comes out and it's like 2 firsts and a whatever, like, it's not going to be that, but if it's huge, then okay, we'll make our other statements and leave a comment in the comment section as to the correction there. But right now, this is all we know of the trade. There isn't really any other details being announced on Cody Glass's front. Yeah, that's it, man. There's just this. So all we can do is really look at the player getting traded over to Pittsburgh, and some of the replies in the comment section of this Our Hockey thread go out there and illuminate just how much it is characteristic for Kyle Dubas to make this kind of a deal. Are you a young, struggling forward who hasn't panned out yet? You should call Kyle Dubas. The Penguins might just have the space for you. This is when Cody Glass turns into Cody Steele and becomes a 100-point player. You're seeing an origin story in real time. Glass going immediately after Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, and Elias Pettersson in the 2017 draft still haunts me sometimes. At least the following 3 guys didn't really work out either. Middlestad is the best of the 4, and even he's been up and down. Obviously, they are referring to the 6, 7, 8, and 9 overall picks in the 2017 NHL Draft. I mean, it was a pretty meh draft, all things considered. Elias Anderson isn't anywhere near what he was supposed to be, nor is Michael Rasmussen, although he is coming around a little bit. Owen Tippett, it took him a while to get going, but he's still kind of there. Cody Glass, though, yeah, definitely not the guy to match up in the same realm as a Pettersson, Makar, or Miro Heiskanen. Sure, though, most of the trauma from that 2017 draft probably comes in the form of the 2nd overall pick, Nolan Patrick, who has taken over all of those guys. Patrick is no longer an NHL player, not his fault, he got injured a bunch, but Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, Elias Pettersson, all going after. Yikes. Let's go back over onto the Reddit thread. That's funny, I have nightmares about a guy who went before Miro, Makar, and Pettersson. Yeah, that's funny. Ay. Very unfortunate for Philadelphia Flyers fans, man. Wish him the best there, he just couldn't get it going here. I always loved the story, and thus the Ryan Ellis trade fizzles to a late-round draft pick, if there even is any return. Not paying a guy who has 4 NHL games since the trade is fine by me. We also got Philip Myers in that trade, who was the key piece in landing McDonough, who was then flipped back to Tampa with a 4th for a 2nd and a 7th. The trade tree is far from dead. Yeah, it's still an absolute win for you guys. The Flyers got 4 games out of Ryan Ellis and are stuck paying him $6 million AAV for 6 years. To be fair, it didn't work out that well for Philly either. Yeah, pretty much, eh? The Preds needed to move out some salary to get cap compliant. Exactly this. The Preds needed to clear that $2.5 million to fit RFA's Tomasino and Parsonen, along with the recently signed $825,000 Spencer Stastny deal. This was inevitable after Barrie made a big splash with UFAs, and Glass always seemed like the most likely one. This also definitely seems like a Dubas kind of flyer, or a type of penguin. Birds, please take care of my precious Cody. He is the sweetest kid in the world, and I hate how bad the injury bug hit him. Him scoring his first ever hat trick and getting emotional about it was one of the most wholesome moments of last season. I didn't even realize that was this previous year. I guess that's just kind of indicative of my illusion of time, but really, I mean, Cody Glass, he only had 6 goals in the entire year. You're saying 3 of them came in 1 game? That's kind of nuts when you really think about it. Yeah, against the Colorado Avalanche. That is nuts. What a story for Cody Glass to have his first NHL hat-trick in this kind of a year. That's got to be some kind of record, right? I mean, lowest amount of goals on a season that were not hat-trick goals compared to actual hat-trick goals. I don't know how to illuminate that, but either way, Cody Glass seems like he's getting traded from Nashville over to Pittsburgh. This works out because him and his $2.5 million AAV was not really needed on Nashville anymore. He is a flyer of a story for Pittsburgh. They want to try to rejuvenate his career. He used to be one of the best prospects in the NHL, but now he is far from that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this trade. We're still waiting on the details on the return, but I don't think it's going to be much, so I feel comfortable going out there making this video right now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.